I wanted to devote a little video to this one taboo topic, which is humping. One of the things I get questioned about the most, because it comes up all the time during dog play when the dog play otherwise seems healthy, because it sort of is. And the people ask me, like, should they be doing that or should they be stopping that or whatever? And I would also say that humping is probably one of the things people are most eager to stop because they find it embarrassing and embarrassing to watch. Above all, like, their dog can be like harassing the crap out of a dog, terrifying it, and they'll let that go on. But as soon as their dog humps, they're like, you know, and interrupt the humping, which is just some probably culturally imposed thing happening with us humans. But that said, I want to talk a little bit about humping. When Jean Donaldson had written a thing about how she wanted to scream from the rooftops that it is sex, like, people were like, is humping dominance? What are they trying to communicate? And she's like, it's sex, man, it's sex. So, and it is sex. She's right. So I'm just going to say that. Humping is a thing that you deal with all the time in dog play groups. It's a really normal behavior. It's nothing to be shamed about. It is sex. It is a sexual behavior. Female dogs do it pretty much as male dogs. Like, we have like a list. I have like a key to dogs that kind of do weird things, and there's the column specifically for humpers, and also for dogs that get humped a lot. So if you have one of those dogs, it's just like a magnet for humps. But they're pretty even, boy or girl. So whether it's the humpy or the humper, so there's plenty of lady dogs who will try to get a hump in any chance they get, and just as much as boy dogs. And it doesn't seem to matter what gender. It's like, it's all free love for the dogs. There's no boy-girl stereotypes there. These are pretty much spayed and neutered dogs that I see, but I also see plenty of like intact dogs doing this. Of course, intact dogs can actually have sex, but like real sex that produces puppies. But that said, I see plenty of intact dogs doing the same thing. There does seem to be something to this, which I am not understanding, like something to what makes dogs attractive to hump or be humped. But I don't understand very well, and I'd like love to do a study on it, but I'm not gonna do that right now. So there's just a couple things I want to touch on there. It's not an emergency if your dog humps occasionally. In the video where I talked about like what makes dog play, and if you watch that Patricia McConnell DVD on dog play is a compilation of the 4 F's, which is fight, flight, feeding, and fornication behaviors. And so sex is part of it. So sexual behaviors come up during play pretty organically and are not abnormal. So a little bit of humping here and there is normal. There are some dogs who just try to hump all the time, and you can do your best to teach them other play skills, and sometimes they'll learn them and sometimes they won't. Usually their ultimate goal sort of remains to eventually hump the dog, and everything else they do to try to warm up to the dog is just that, like a plan to seduce the dog into allowing them to hump it. If you have one of those dogs, and some breeds tend to be like more humpy than others or whatever, then that's your case, and you can teach it as much play skills as you want, but also keep in mind it's trying to hump. And usually dogs that are interacting with a dog that's trying to hump them know that. So a lot of dogs don't care. So a lot of dogs are like, he tries to hump me all the time, fine, I still play with him. But some dogs are like, I'm on to you, buddy. You're trying to hump me. And so I will occasionally get clients that are like, everybody hates my dog. My dog gets jumped all the time. He's such a sweetie. And then when I watch the dog play, all he's trying to do is hump. And he's pretty bad at the like foreplay moves that would allow him to get a hump in. And so the other dogs are just like, whoa, dude, creepo. And immediately before any interaction even happens are telling that dog off. So he is kind of getting jumped all the time for his like obvious like creeping around in a trench coat ready to flash dogs, and they can see him coming from a mile off and are like, no thank you. In play I usually do interrupt humping. It's not an emergency of all the things that a dog could be doing. It's not the most urgent thing for me to interrupt, but I interrupt it for 2 reasons. In the hope that I can teach the humper some other play skills. So if I allow him to continuously molest dogs all day, that's what he wants, and he has no need to learn any other play skills. So I have to restrict his access to that so that at least he learns some other interaction skills in an attempt to get a hump in that allow him a bigger repertoire, which might lead to him actually having successful play with some dogs, especially dogs that are good at kind of like shrimping out of a hump or juking the humpers. And the second thing is, you know, it's not all dogs have great hips. Not all dogs want to be humped all day. So I want to make it enjoyable for everybody. So if he's just like humping dogs and the dogs are having to stop and be like, getting humped again, boring, you know, or whatever. I can't play with dogs. Boy, this really is uncomfortable. I don't want that to happen either. So for the enjoyment of all, I'm trying to teach play skills as, if at all possible, to the humper, or interaction skills besides humping, and then make it life enjoyable for the dog being humped too, which means stopping that. So if you got a humper, there is hope, especially if your dog's young, but also know generally dogs that hump a lot, you know, try to hump a lot. So in play, in daycares, we have dogs that try to hump that will find playmates that they're just really hit it off with, and there's not much humping that happens. And then they'll also just target dogs that kind of allow them to relentlessly hump. And that's where that picking playmates goes. So if we have a dog that continuously targets a dog to hump it, we usually try to rotate those dogs so that they don't have as much access to that, for the benefit of both dogs.